Growing big potato harvests is often seen as a back-breaking job for those with wide-open fields. Most gardeners accept small yields for all their digging. But what if all that effort was completely unnecessary? You can pull 100 pounds of potatoes from one simple wooden box. The method is right under your nose. And that number, 100 pounds, isn't a typo. We're talking about pulling a huge harvest from a simple wooden box that only takes up 4 square feet of space. For anyone who doesn't have a giant farm-sized backyard, that sounds almost too good to be true. It's the kind of thing that could completely change how you grow your own food. But if you look it up online, you'll see a lot of debate. Some gardeners will show you pictures of massive harvests, saying they got tons of potatoes out of their box. Others will tell you it's a complete myth, and they barely got anything to grow past the bottom layer. So, what's the real story? Is it actually possible? The answer is yes, but the secret isn't just building the box, it's knowing exactly how to use it, step by step. A few key details make all the difference between a handful of potatoes and a 100-pound harvest. Today, we're showing you all of them. Alright, let's get right into the build. The magic of this system is in a few key details, and we're starting with the most important one, the wood. This is non-negotiable. You absolutely cannot use pressure-treated wood. The chemicals they use to treat that lumber can seep into your soil, and from there, right into your potatoes. You don't want to eat that. So, head to the hardware store and grab some simple, untreated wood. Regular deck boards work perfectly for the sides, and a few 2x4s will work for the corner posts. You'll also need some 3-inch outdoor deck screws to hold it all together. The basic design is a box with no bottom, built to be about 2 feet square. You cut your deck boards into sections just under 2 feet long, around 23.5 inches is perfect. The corner posts, your 2x4s, should be taller, about 33 inches high. You attach the first layer of boards to the bottom of the 4 corner posts, creating that initial 4 square foot box. The rest of the boards will be added later, one layer at a time, as your potato plants grow taller. It's like building a little wooden tower for your plants. But it is the clever part, the little hack that makes a huge difference for watering. Before you add any soil, you're going to build a simple irrigation system. Take an old garden hose and drill a bunch of tiny, uno diagonal 16-inch holes randomly along its length. Seal up one end with an end cap, and then stand the hose up vertically right in the middle of your box. This is the secret to getting water all the way down to those bottom layers, which is a common problem with deep containers. Instead of just watering the top, you'll pour water right into this hose every 2 or 3 days, and it will seep out evenly from top to bottom. Now, you might be thinking back to those online debates we mentioned. This is where people run into trouble. Some gardeners report that they build a box just like this, but only get potatoes growing in the very bottom layer. They see the plant get tall, but when they harvest, there's nothing in all those upper layers of soil they added. On the other hand, others say they get a ton of taters out of the first few layers. The difference comes down to management. Overwatering can be a problem, and so can timing. The goal is to encourage the plant to send out new potatoes all the way up the stem as you add more soil. So the box itself is just step 1. It's the foundation. The real key to hitting that 100-pound mark is how you plant, when you add soil, and exactly what kind of soil you use. That's what we're covering next. Alright, your box is built and that special watering hose is ready to go. This next part is where the magic really happens, it's how you turn this simple wooden frame into a high-rise for potatoes. First, get your soil ready at the bottom of the box. You place your seed potatoes in this first layer, spacing them about 4 to 5 inches apart. And here's a key detail, make sure any little sprouts or ice on the potatoes are pointing up. That's the direction the plant wants to grow, and you're just giving it a head start. Once they're all laid out, don't just dump a mountain of dirt on them. This is where people go wrong. You only want to cover them with about 1 inch of soil. That's it. It'll feel like you're not adding enough, but trust the process. This shallow covering is crucial. Now, you play the waiting game. Let those potato plants pop up through the soil and grow until their green tops are about 6 to 8 inches tall. That's your cue. When they hit that height, it's time for the first layering. You're going to gently add about 4 inches of fresh soil around the base of the plants. You want to bury the lower part of the stem, but always leave the top few sets of leaves sticking out so they can catch the sunlight. This simple act is the secret to the entire method. Every time you bury a section of the main stem, you're signaling the plant to grow new potatoes from that buried part. You're not just getting one layer of potatoes at the bottom, you're encouraging them to grow all the way up. You repeat this process about every 2 or 3 weeks. As the plants grow taller, you add another 4 inches of soil. And as your soil level gets higher, you screw on the next set of boards to your box, building your tower one level at a time. And that irrigation hose we built? It's your best friend here. Instead of just watering the top, you'll fill that hose every couple of days. The water will seep out through all those little holes, getting moisture evenly to every layer, from the top potatoes all the way to the bottom. Now, it is a pro tip that some gardeners swear by for getting an even bigger harvest. As you add your boards, consider cutting a few small notches in them. This can allow some of the side branches to grow outwards, catching extra sunlight. More sun means more energy, and more energy can mean more potatoes. You just keep this cycle going, let the plants grow, add more soil, add another board. You're essentially creating the perfect, deep environment for the potatoes to thrive, floor by floor, until your box is full. Okay, so you've got the method down. But let's be honest, that 100-pound number sounds a little crazy, right? You've probably seen people online who tried this and said they only got a handful of potatoes for all their work. And they're probably telling the truth. Because they almost certainly made one of a few critical mistakes. The biggest one, the mistake that separates a huge harvest from a total flop, is about what you're actually layering. Many people think you just keep burying the same plants over and over again. And while that hilling method works, it will only ever give you potatoes along that one main stem. To get a true high-rise of potatoes, you need to plant in layers. Think of it like building a multi-story apartment building. You build the first floor, that's your first layer of seed potatoes. Once those plants are up and established, you add more soil and then you plant a new floor of seed potatoes on top of that. You're not just hilling, you're stacking. If you skip that step and just pile dirt higher and higher, all you're doing is making your original plants work harder to reach the sun. You only get potatoes growing way down at the bottom, and the rest of the box will just be empty soil. The next mistake is getting impatient. Don't dump 6 or 8 inches of soil on your plants all at once. It's too heavy. A gentle 4-inch layer is all you need. Drowning them in too much dirt can smother the plant or make the stems collapse. Slow and steady is the key. Another classic mistake is overwatering. Potatoes hate having wet feet. If they sit in soggy, muddy soil, they'll rot before they even have a chance to grow. That irrigation hose we made is your secret weapon here. It delivers water evenly without creating a swamp at the bottom of the box. A good soak every 2 or 3 days is usually all it takes. And speaking of the box itself, here's a safety warning you cannot ignore: never, ever use pressure-treated wood. The chemicals in that wood are designed to kill things like fungus and insects, and they can seep into your soil and get absorbed by your potatoes. Finally, a lot of people get tempted near the end of the season. They think they can slide off one of the bottom boards and sneak a few early potatoes. Please, don't do it. You risk damaging the main root system of the entire tower, which can wreck your final harvest. Paciencia is everything.